Chapter 1. I wrote his death. Now I'm his consort? The last thing I remember was sipping instant coffee like it was divine nectar while furiously typing out the most tragic scene of my web novel, Blood Moon Court, The Enigma King's Downfall. In that scene, Eldrin Blackthrone, the cold, beautiful, cursed king of the Enigma race, finally gives in to the madness and kills his forced alpha consort, Caspian, with his bare hands. It was poetic, dark, heart-wrenching, and apparently a death sentence for me. Because now I, Oren Vane, have woken up in the exact world I created, trapped in the body of none other than Caspian Blackthrone, the exact character I had written to be hated, chained, and executed in Chapter 10. I'm on Chapter freaking 1. I jolted upright in a ridiculously fluffy feather bed the size of a small nation. My silk nightgown was practically glowing. My nails were manicured, and beside the bed stood a man dressed in so much black velvet he looked like a moving death threat. "Good morning, Your Grace," he intoned with a bow. "His Majesty requests your presence in the Moon Court." I blinked at him, then blinked at my perfectly moisturized hands, then screamed. 30 minutes later, I had tried to jump out of the palace window. Turns out I was on the 13th floor. The guards caught me mid-air using some kind of sparkly blue wind magic that smelled like lavender and shame. "Are you feeling unwell, Your Grace?" one of them asked politely as I was carried back like a disgraced kitten. "You've been a little off today." I squinted. Do I usually scream at chandeliers? "Well, you did throw one at His Majesty last week." "Okay, that's not helpful." The Moon Court was just as I described it in the novel: cold silver pillars, violet banners made of star thread, and a ceiling so high I could hear my soul leaving my body. And there, at the center of it all, was King Eldrin Blackthrone. Tall, pale, with a face sculpted like divine wrath and long obsidian hair tied back with a blood-red ribbon. He was sitting on a black stone throne with one leg casually draped over the other like he owned the world, and had personally burned down anyone who disagreed. He was my novel's ultimate sad boy gone full monster. My killer. My husband. And the moment our eyes met, those silver irises glowing faintly beneath thick lashes, he smiled, softly, like he was seeing the sun for the first time. "You're awake," he said in a voice that made my spine rethink existing. "Did you sleep well, Caspian?" I took one step back. "Nope. You had a nightmare." "Yeah, you were in it." The guards froze. Eldrin blinked. And then he blushed. Blushed. The man I wrote to crush skulls with a smirk was now looking at me like a simpering schoolboy. I must have scared you yesterday," he muttered, dropping his gaze. "I didn't mean to frighten you, my moonlight. I'll have the servants bring you lavender milk." "You threatened to slit my throat last week." Eldrin stood, walked toward me. Slowly, like I was some wild creature he didn't want to startle. "Caspian, I don't know what's come over you," he whispered, brushing his hand along my cheek. "But if I've hurt you, I'll make it right. I'll burn the world if you ask me to." My legs gave out. "Why are the chains on my ankles gold-plated?" I shrieked from the floor. Later that night, I tried to stab him with a fruit knife during dinner. He caught it mid-air, kissed the blade, and said, "Your rage is beautiful, my love." I threw wine in his face. He licked it off his lips and whispered, "You taste like heaven." I begged the servants to smuggle me out. They asked if I was into this kind of roleplay. I considered lighting myself on fire. And as I curled up in the absurdly soft bed later that night, one hand over my still flat stomach because yes, this world had M-preg, I whispered to myself, I am going to die. Not because of the king, but from sheer second-hand embarrassment. But the worst part, every time I looked at Eldrin, that psychotic, lovesick, dangerous man, he looked back like I was his entire universe. And I was starting to blush. Caspian Blackthrone, the menace bottom who accidentally seduced his killer. Help, Chapter 2. I slapped him, and he thanked me. It's been 3 months since I, Oren Vane, BL author extraordinaire, woke up in my own tragic novel as Caspian Blackthrone, the snarky alpha consort to the man I once wrote as a cold-blooded tyrant. Spoiler alert, he's now a golden retriever with a crown. I tried everything, screaming, threatening, food throwing, running, even a strategically sharpened butter knife. But none of it worked. Eldrin just eats it all up like I'm reciting poetry. This morning, I smacked him with a silk pillow. His response? Your wrath is as soft and divine as your heart, my moonlight. Then he kissed my wrist. Kill me, please. Scene, Royal Consort's chambers. I narrowed my eyes as Eldrin stood in the doorway yet again, holding an entire tray of sliced starfruit and smiling, like I was the reincarnation of the divine moon deity. Why are you here? I asked, sprawled across a velvet lounge chair like a bored cat. Eldrin blinked. To gaze at you, to feed you, to exist in the same air as you. I threatened to stab you yesterday, and your fury was intoxicating. I picked up a grape and chucked it at his face. Thank you, he whispered, catching it midair and eating it with tears in his eyes. The palace staff are scared of me, as they should be. I once slapped Eldrin with a silver fork. He smiled and declared, I have been blessed. I growled at a noble who called me just a consort. Eldrin made that man disappear. No one asked where he went. The garden fountain looks deeper now, though. Escape attempt. #7. The dignified exit. I packed 3 slices of cake, 2 throwing daggers, and a map I stole from a sleepy librarian. I made it to the palace walls. Then fainted. In Eldrin's arms, again. When I woke up, I was tucked in bed, with roses on the pillows, and a note. Next time, let me carry you from the start. Yours forever, Eldrin. Flashback. Our absurdly luxurious marriage. The wedding happened in chapter -0. I'd skipped writing it originally. Now I remember why. Golden unicorns pulled the bridal carriage. The aisle was made of enchanted frost roses that bloomed with each step. A 300-piece orchestra played a song. I'm pretty sure I never wrote. I had worn the tightest silk robe known to mankind, embroidered with moon phases. I looked like a luxury hostage. Eldrin wore all black, with a sword. Instead of vows, he said, I swear to worship you until the end of stars. Do I get dental with this? The nobles clapped, someone passed out. Current day, ballroom gala of the year. I didn't want to go. I'm not a decorative vase, I hissed while adjusting my sheer obsidian corset tunic. Eldrin kissed my temple. You're my universe in heels. I kicked his shin. He smiled wider. The ballroom was full of nobles, stiff collars, fake smiles, and sparkling tiaras. And then we entered. Correction. Eldrin dragged me in by the waist like I was a prize trophy and he was the world's proudest magpie. Gasps echoed. The Enigma King, known for butchering ministers with a glance, was practically purring while carrying my fan and feeding me cake with a tiny fork. My lord, a duchess stammered, I didn't know you were so affectionate. Eldrin, I would shatter the moon if it made him smile. Me, I'm choking on pearl, someone help. By the end of the night, I was tipsy on blood wine, exhausted, and unfortunately, swooning. He caught me again. Let me take you home, Caspian. Ugh, I swear if you say my moonlight one more time, I'll throw you in the sun. He grinned. I'd orbit the sun if you asked. That night, the bonding. It was supposed to be a calm post-gala nap. It turned into feral mating chaos. Eldrin's eyes glowed crimson, his voice husky with ancient pheromones. Caspian, he whispered as he hovered over me, you smell like temptation. I always smell like that, I groaned, tugging at his hair. Don't get cocky. I'll get clingy. He released his scent. I blacked out. When I woke up, we were officially bonded. He had bitten me. And I had moaned his name so many times the bed needed exorcism. Morning after. The first thing that left Caspian's mouth after waking up is, that was a mistake. It was destiny, my moonlight Eldrin said from beside him. You drugged me with pheromones last night. Caspian glared at Eldrin, who was smittenly smiling at him. You drugged me with your existence, Eldrin said like a devotee. Caspian, I hate you. Eldrin snuggles into Caspian's stomach. I love you more. Caspian sighed. The mark on his neck fresh and throbbed, his lower back ached. And his heart? Traitor, fine, I'll stay. But don't you dare act like you own me. Caspian said. You bit me last night, Eldrin whispered. You're mine. Chapter 3. I found out. I'm pregnant and he's crying with joy. 1 month after the ballroom gala. Life in the palace had almost settled into its usual routine. The alpha consort Caspian plotting increasingly ridiculous escape attempts, and King Eldrin responding with love letters, fresh pastries, and suspiciously luxurious cuddles. This time, Caspian was determined to succeed. He had partnered with a half-blind palace cat named Lord Myowington III in what he dramatically dubbed Operation Freedom. Distract the guards with your cuteness, Caspian whispered, tightening his robe sash like a warlord preparing for battle. Myowington blinked in 2 different directions, yawned, and fell asleep. Traitor. Caspian made it all the way to the window, clutching a rope of knotted bedsheets. I will not die a spoiled, overfed, constantly cuddled little prince, he muttered, and then promptly collapsed. Chaos ensued. Caspian awoke in the royal infirmary surrounded by panic. The palace physician hovered beside him with a glowing pink orb, while a healer in training fanned herself with the intensity of a wind spirit summoning spell. Across the room, Eldrin was pacing with wild eyes, his sleeves rolled up like he was about to fist-fight a deity. Is he dying? Is he bleeding? Is his ankle bruised? Did he stub his toe? The physician calmly raised the orb and said, Your Majesty, congratulations. The royal consort is pregnant. Silence. Then, Eldrin, supreme ruler of the Enigmas, king of the Midnight Realm, destroyer of realms, now currently crying like a teen adult who just saw their K-pop bias in public. Thank you, fate, he whispered hoarsely. Thank you, fertile moonlight. Caspian, still dizzy, squinted down at him and groaned, I'm not moonlight. I'm a man with a stomachache and a shattered escape plan. Eldrin wept harder. Attempted window eviction. An hour later, Caspian tried to throw Eldrin out the palace window. Literally. He pushed with all his might while Eldrin clung to the window frame like a stubborn barnacle. You can't get rid of me, Eldrin cried. I'm your emotional support monster. I didn't ask to be the Empress of Cuddles. Get off me. Royal announcement. Of course, Eldrin made the news very public. A royal press conference was held with trumpets, doves, and far too many glittering banners. Eldrin wore a custom tunic that said, Future Father, in elaborate gold embroidery. Caspian wore a bathrobe and barely veiled rage. The town crier's voice echoed across the kingdom. Hear ye, the consort is with heir. Long live the royal belly. Citizens cheered. Someone fainted. A street bard wrote a song called Womb of Glory. Caspian dry-heaved into a jewel-encrusted bucket. Royal Pregnancy Worship Day 1. The palace chef crafted a 12-course meal titled Nourish the Womb. The garden was renamed Waddle Walks of the Consort. Servants started bowing, not to Caspian, but into his stomach. The head maid presented a custom robe with handle with adoration stitched on the hem. Caspian set it on fire. Royal Pregnancy Worship Day. 20. Eldrin unveiled a giant 4-meter oil painting of Caspian sleeping with a hand over his belly. It captures your divine glow, the king said proudly. I was drooling, Caspian replied horrified. Royal Pregnancy Worship Day, 30. Eldrin refused to let Caspian walk. He carried him everywhere, even to the bathroom. Your ankles must not suffer. They carry 2 royal souls now. I will bite you, Caspian warned. You've already marked my heart, Eldrin sighed. That's not even a physical organ. Nesting begins. Every night, Eldrin cuddled Caspian's belly and sang lullabies in ancient Enigma tongue. The baby, now known unofficially as the Blob of Doom, kicked whenever Caspian got annoyed. Eldrin called it a sign of deep passion. One evening, Caspian muttered under his breath, "I want to build a nest." Eldrin froze like he'd heard a divine command. The next morning, the west wing of the palace was transformed into a giant pillow fort. Soft moments against his will. Despite the chaos, the absurd rituals, and Eldrin's over-the-top affection. Sometimes, when Caspian woke up to warm arms wrapped protectively around him and the soft hum of lullabies in his ear, he felt something unfamiliar. Peace. He'd never admitted, of course. The next morning, as Eldrin lovingly spoon-fed him breakfast and whispered to the baby, Caspian scowled and said, "Don't get used to it, Eldrin. I'm still your alpha husband, not your teddy bear." Eldrin simply snuggled deeper and murmured, "You're the whole constellation of my heart." Caspian groaned. Disgusting. Chapter 4. I tried to poison him. He proposed with blood roses. Caspian had officially had enough. Enough of the worship, enough of the shrine-like belly rubs, enough of Eldrin's googly eyes every time the baby hiccuped. Enough. Sure, pregnancy had made him slightly softer. Okay, maybe a bit more affectionate. And maybe he accidentally kissed Eldrin that one night when he got emotional over pickled radishes, but that didn't mean he had to accept being treated like a national relic. So Caspian, former web novelist, current alpha consort, and still Sundare menace at heart, decided, I'm going to poison my husband. Not to kill him. Just to humble him. Okay, maybe slightly to kill him. Dinner at the royal table. A scene of delicate murder. That night, dinner was served in the imperial glass garden where fireflies lit the night and the staff wore pastel robes embroidered with baby carrots and dad-to-be ribbons. Caspian poured the wine himself into Eldrin's cup, while smiling. Suspiciously. Eldrin, utterly oblivious, blinked like a lovesick deer. You're radiant tonight, Caspian. Caspian giggled darkly. I know. Drink your wine. Eldrin took a slow sip, paused, looked at Caspian, and then chugged the entire poisoned goblet. If your hand brings my death, Eldrin said with glistening eyes, then let me die drowning in your love. Caspian slammed the table. I'm the one who wrote poison plot. Did he just drink it like tea? 5 minutes later, Caspian waited, and waited. Nothing. Eldrin just smiled dreamily. You're not foaming at the mouth. I feel warm, Eldrin sighed, like I've just been kissed by eternity. Caspian stared. You should be on the floor clutching your stomach. Is this about me touching your belly in public? Because I can ask permission next time. You're immune to poison? Eldrin blinked innocently. I'm the Enigma King, darling. Venom has no power over me. You knew that. Caspian forgot. Caspian forgot because he was the one who created the lore and somehow still got beaten by his own character sheet. The proposal, again. Instead of being furious, Eldrin stood, snapped his fingers. Boom! Fireworks! From the castle roof. Red and black roses rained from the sky as musicians burst into a soft, romantic version of Moonlight Madness, the baby edition. Then Eldrin knelt beside the table, held up a black velvet box. Inside, a ring made from enigma crystal that pulsed with their bonding mark. You tried to kill me, Eldrin whispered, voice full of devotion. So let me live every day proving I'm worth your mercy. Marry me, again. Caspian flung a breadstick at his head. It bounced off. Eldrin caught it midair and kissed it. A week-long celebration, again. The kingdom rejoiced, again. The second proposal was declared a holy event. Poets wrote sonnets. Artists painted dramatic reenactments of Caspian standing over a poisoned chalice with wind in his hair. One painting was titled Wrath of the Divine Womb. Caspian declared war on the Royal Art Guild. He lost. Meanwhile, enemies move in the shadows. Not everyone was celebrating. A few nobles, jealous, bitter, and colossally stupid, decided Caspian was the weak link in Eldrin's empire. After all, wasn't he just a delicate, pregnant consort with zero magical power? Big mistake. Because what they didn't know was that Caspian was not just a menace in heels. He was once a rogue alpha mercenary with a blood-stained past, a past he wrote into his original draft and then forgot. That past came back when a shadow assassin broke into Caspian's quarters late one night, aiming a dagger at his bump. Caspian disarmed him with a serving spoon. He slammed the man into the floor, yanked the curtain rope, and dropped a 10-kilogram chandelier on his skull. "Try me again," Caspian growled, cradling his belly with one hand, holding a fork in the other. "I'll gut you with silverware." The aftermath. When Eldrin heard about the attack, he burned 3 provinces off the map and bought Caspian a new nest made of phoenix feathers. He also tattooed a binding spell over his own heart, just in case Caspian ever actually wanted to kill him. "So my death will be yours to choose," Eldrin whispered lovingly. "I want a mango," Caspian said, ignoring him completely. "Yes, my killer angel." Despite the murder attempt, the second proposal, and Caspian nearly bludgeoning a duke with a decorative melon, he found himself laughing. Softer, warmer, a little more in love than he wanted to admit. Eldrin was still insane, but he was his insane. Chapter 5. The Queen of Chaos, the King of Devotion, and their tiny terror. Caspian Blackthrone, currently 9 months pregnant. Still dramatic. Still tsundere. Still plotting murder between foot rubs. And now, shaped like a luxury pear with attitude. "Why is everyone treating me like I'm made of glass? I'm an alpha. I've killed people with my shoelaces." "Because," Eldrin whispered lovingly, "you're carrying our child. You're my moon goddess. You're the universe wrapped in silk. Say one more poetic thing and I'm giving birth in your office on purpose." Meanwhile, Eldrin, father-to-be mode, activated. Eldrin had somehow become the perfect doting husband. He balanced ruling an empire, managing assassins, attending council meetings, and hand-feeding Caspian sliced fruit in bed like it was his religion. Every time Caspian sneezed, 10 healers arrived. Every time Caspian glared, the lighting in the palace was adjusted for his comfort. He even scented Caspian daily, pressing their bodies close, wrapping him in warm, soothing enigma pheromones that relaxed both Caspian and their unborn heir. "It's not because I like it," Caspian muttered once, leaning into Eldrin's shoulder. "I know," Eldrin said softly, kissing his hair. "You just sigh like that because you're annoyed, and moan because you're angry. Shut up." And then, the baby came. It was a quiet night. Too quiet. Which in palace terms meant incoming chaos. Caspian waddled into Eldrin's office and threw a pillow at him. "Your child's coming out. Right now." Eldrin stood so fast his chair exploded. 12 hours of labor. 2 midwives fainted. Caspian screamed, cussed in 3 languages, one of them ancient, and at one point yelled, "Eldrin, if you ever touch me again, I'm putting fire ants in your pants." Eldrin held his hand the entire time, smiling like he was watching heaven unfold. "I love you," he said, eyes full of tears. "I hate you," Caspian screamed. "I know," he whispered. "I know." And then, silence. A tiny, beautiful cry echoed through the room. The royal healer wrapped a soft bundle in starlight cloth and handed it over. "Your daughter, your majesties." Caspian stared. Big black eyes, chubby cheeks, a full head of silvery black hair that immediately glowed with enigma aura. Eldrin cried like a man reborn. "Caspian?" He blinked, then muttered, "Why does she look like you already own her soul?" "She's ours," Eldrin whispered, nuzzling them both. "She's perfect. She just drooled on me. She's advanced." The days that followed. Royal chaos. Naming the baby took 6 councils, 5 fights, and 1 near civil war. Eventually, Caspian won. Her name, Varelia Blackthrone. Nickname, Star Gremlin. Only allowed for Caspian to say. Caspian, as a parent, throws tantrums when baby cries during his bath. Refuses to admit he sings lullabies at night. Threatens to stab anyone who says she looks like Eldrin. Eldrin, as a parent, carries her in a jewel-studded sling. cried for 5 minutes the first time she sneezed, decorated her nursery with self-portraits of Caspian. One day, Caspian caught him sniffing the baby's blanket and whispering, "She smells like my two favorite people." Caspian threw a book at his head. He missed. Eldrin caught it and placed a rose in its pages. The confession that wasn't a confession. Caspian never said, "I love you," not once. But he curled into Eldrin every night. He grumbled when Eldrin skipped lunch. He kissed him when he thought he was asleep. And when Varelia giggled for the first time, Caspian whispered, "We made something beautiful, you and me." Eldrin smiled with misty eyes and said, "You don't have to say it. You've been screaming it since day one." Caspian slapped his arm. "I said nothing. Shut up and hold me." He did. Forever. Later that day, the two sat in the Moon Court library, their daughter napping in Caspian's arms. Eldrin reached for a dusty book. It was the original manuscript, Blood Moon Court, the Enigma King's downfall, the one where Caspian died unloved, the one where Eldrin went mad and perished. Caspian stared at it for a long moment, then smirked. "Let's burn it." And they did. Together. "Here's to new endings," Caspian whispered, "the kind I never knew I needed." Eldrin pressed a kiss to his temple. "And to you, my chaos, my consort, my forever."